Today's a day where we just figure it out as we go. So today, you guys on Instagram got a little extra bonus feature, which I usually give to the guys on YouTube. So the house blend, the Houston blend. I'm gonna try it. This kind is Lavanta. I got the bags of coffee yesterday. I told you guys about this. I got so much coffee yesterday. It's crazy. Or last week. Yes, I'm sorry, Tatiana. Yeah, I was roasting my own beans and watching the watched coffee pot. Sorry, guys. You guys were extra late. I was extra late on YouTube today. So, guys, Moana, best movie ever. Moana, I'll have you know, on my actual channel where I rate and review movies, that was the first movie I gave 5 fro's out of 5. I do on a fro system where I give everything a rating based on fro's, like as in afros. And Moana got 5 out of 5. What is your favorite animated feature? What's up, WO88? I hope your life is treating you well. I hope you're staying in. I hope you are. Listen, guys, I got 3 packs of Oreos yesterday in the mail. Let me explain. Last week when I was on Amazon Fresh, there were no snack foods that I could order. There was nothing I could order. There was no food. So that forced my hand. I had to buy the Oreos at a 3-pack because it was the best deal. And, guys, let me tell you something. I'm giving away 2.5 packs of Oreos because I think I'm done. I'm cashing in my chips. I'm cashing in my cookies because I'm going to toss those cookies any second now. You're an essential worker, WO. Thank you for your service. Thank you for sticking with it and being strong and being mindful of, try not to touch your face. Definitely don't touch other people's faces. Don't touch my face. Man, this coffee fiasco's got some agita going. I was talking about being from New York. You don't like to be late. In New York, if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late. That's how it works. There's a time loop in New York. I don't like to be late. Moana is one of the funnest. What's up, Padriac? That weeb. That's an interesting name. Your icon, your icon, it looks like a avatar, like an animated avatar. Looks like a seal. Did you guys see The Incredibles? Tatiana says her favorite types of animated films appeal to kids, but have gifts for adults as well. See, this is my favorite type of comedy, or any type of thing in general. That's something that can have an appeal across. I think if something has an appeal or something, people can criticize and say it's too accessible and the masses like it and therefore it's watered down and it's not as good. But I think if there's something fundamentally relatable is like the worst word. It's like saying, hey, that tune is catchy. That song that you wrote is catchy. If there's something universally that we can connect to as human beings, I think it's an important part of being particularly a Hollywood movie, because you're bringing people together, and then hopefully people together can feel and experience a similar feeling or experience. And isn't that the point of all art? To actually have a thought or a feeling about something that you saw or heard or read. And I think, Tatiana's onto something there. If something makes you feel something, makes you think something, if you're watching a movie that is, quote, for kids, kids can handle a lot more than we give them credit for. I think a lot of people thought, I was just talking about the movie Inside Out yesterday and how Inside Out deals with a lot of human emotions that we all experience and how to deal with those emotions. And I was talking to some lady and she said she didn't like it because her little kid was there and there was like sadness and anger in it. And it was like, well, those are a part of the spectrum of human emotions, sadness, anger, all of those things. So kids can they can deal with that. They can figure it out. They're going to experience it one way or another, and it's better to give them the tools to, or at least an allegory or an example of how to deal with those emotions in with like a little tiny pixie with blue hair floating around and Lewis Black screaming at you as a little red man. Hey Tristan, hey, do not follow me. I'm going to follow you right after this. I had to get my girlfriend some Oreos last night at 11. She ate like 5 you ate the rest, Jimmy. Jimmy James and me gonna eat all the Oreos. Ain't gonna be no Oreos left. Because he's just like, what else have you got to do? They're there. I have how many rows? Each Oreo pack comes with 3 rows. Now, I got a variety pack. I got the regular Oreos, the blonde Oreos, or the yellow Oreos. I don't even know what flavor they are. Actually, Oreo is not a flavor that occurs in nature. It's not a natural substance. I don't know where they mined this, what planet they got it from. But describe the flavor of Oreos. You can't. It does not exist. It is an unnatural. It's like the Sith. It's made up of stuff that's unnatural. And it tastes like chemicals. But somehow I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. I don't know why. Tastes like pure chemistry. It's like it came out of a lab. So I got regular Oreos, the blonde Oreos, and the double stuffed Oreos. 3 packs. How many? Each one comes with 3 rows. So that's 9 rows of Oreos, and one is double stuffed. So it's like kind of an Oreo and a half. I'm doing a calculation in my head, guys. This is not good. This could be bad. This could turn out horribly. Keep an eye on me. Keep checking in. Make sure that I'm all right. Make sure I'm still here. I don't know what's worse, Corona or Oreos. I feel like I'm not going to have any teeth, at least. They get all stuck in your teeth. The Nightmare Before Christmas is about self-actualization. Yes. And my only gripe with The Nightmare Before Christmas, Tatiana says The Night Before Christmas is about self-actualization. Does it even actually know if it's a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? Because I feel like people start maybe watching it before Halloween, because it's like Jack Skellington and all that. But then when you're watching it around Christmas, it feels like it's too late. I always noticed this when I was a kid. They would always have the Halloween reruns. When there was a thing called reruns when we were children on TV. So like seasons didn't just give you 17 episodes straight, 15 episodes straight. They gave you 22 episodes over the course of a year, and they would take breaks. So every like 4 or 5 weeks, you'd have an episode that was an old episode. And always during Christmas break, after Christmas and before New Year's, it was always the Halloween shows of all the sitcoms, like Full House, Halloween, Friends, Halloween, all the Halloween stuff. But yeah, that's another question. Is The Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? I don't know. Listen, Jimmy James, you're talking about the Sonic's Oreo Blast. I was making a protein shake for breakfast because I'm healthy and I like to eat protein. However, I considered putting an Oreo in that protein shake. I was like a little bit of kale, a banana, some peanut butter, and an Oreo. Why not? Because Oreos have infiltrated my brain. I think they were trying to take over. They're chemically produced material that turns you into an Oreo zombie. This is what I'm going with. The Last Unicorn, bro. Will brings up The Last Unicorn. My friend and co-host of a podcast that we have together called Fan Story. Her name is Tara. She didn't know that The Last Unicorn was real. She thought that was a movie that she had made up in her brain and never existed in the true reality. But it turns out she just recently discovered that it was real. The Last Unicorn. That's unicorns for you, man. Elusive. Watership Down, An American Tail. Oh, An American Tail. Don Bluth used to do some good animation in the 80s. The Last Unicorn, Will. Tell us what The Last Unicorn is. We have a question here on Instagram. See, I only know what my friend Tara told me. She was like, I thought my whole life it was a fake movie, that it wasn't real, that it was all made up in her head. But she went and saw it as a kid and thought that it was all an imagination. It was all an imaginary nation. Yeah. Oh, that looks good. It was like 1982. It looks like the old Hobbit animation type of stuff. If you guys remember, there was originally a Hobbit series and Lord of the Rings series that was animated in the 70s. Because, you know, it was the 70s. I just have to say that the songs they made up in that were like not good. Because when you read The Hobbit, there's songs. All the little hobbits have songs that they sing together, and it's just written out in words, and they like sing it. But then in the animated series in the 70s, with the curly-haired little hobbits and whatnots and the Frodos, they would sing these terrible songs. They should have gotten Lin-Manuel Miranda, but he wasn't born yet. Like they got him for Moana. Yeah, so Numinos, Paul Newman's cookies. See, if I saw those on Amazon Fresh, I would have ordered those. So the problem was I saw that these were on Amazon Fresh, and they were like, you could get 1 pack, or you could get 3 packs for like 50 cents more. And I totally took the deal. Now I've got a OD on Oreos. I'm going to OREOD. Kelsey, waving, making friends. Is this Will? See, bringing people together. Will and Tatiana having a conversation over here on YouTube in our chat room. You guys can also subscribe to my YouTube, AristotleFullThrottle.com, and you can subscribe. And if you subscribe and comment on there, you actually can qualify to win a PlayStation, whichever PlayStation is the most recent. Because I used to say PlayStation 4, but it's taken a while to get my subscriber count up. So if you guys could go over there and just do that, we can get you a PlayStation. We'll bring you a PlayStation. Not everybody, just a lucky commenter who goes and through all my videos and comments on my videos. And, you know, I'll pick one who is fairly frequent and, you know, I'll pick one out of a hat. How about that? I'll take the top commenters and I'll pick it out of a hat live. Take like the top 10 commenters. So be in that top 10 because then you'll have another 1 in 10 chance of winning. But it's easy to get into the top 10. Just comment. Comment on my videos. Do not follow me. I'm serious. Do you want me to do that now and later? You can do it now and later. I'm also on there too, so you could talk to me there. Just AristotleFullThrottle.com. Go there, push the button, come back. Because you'll go there and then it'll say subscribe, and then you'll do that and then come back. Yeah, the Dark Crystal. So the Dark Crystal, that's Muppets though. That was Jim Henson's studios. I think Jim Henson was like, I want to explore the world of puppetry, but I want to bring it to like a dark place. Because, you know, puppets just ain't for kids. Animated movies. Remember Heavy Metal, guys? That was very serious when I was a kid because it was like animated, but for adults. It had nudity in it. We were kids. We were like, we want to see an animated feature with nudity, which was just kind of, that's what you did when you were a kid. And it's called Heavy Metal, and who doesn't like heavy metal? I love heavy metal. You guys remember Heavy Metal? That was it's kind of like an anthology type of movie where there were 4 different movies in it. The early 80s was all about that, like Creepshow. It's pretty cool. Though the movie Heavy Metal, I don't know how much it had to do with heavy metal. It was based on a comic series or a title. Yeah, heavy metal is infamous, man. These Numinos, I wonder if these Numinos are made of the same chemical batch. Numinos are Anomalisa. Yes. I think now it's interesting because what you could do with animation is you could create all different types of stuff rather quickly instead of taking years and years. When I was a kid, the Disney movies were hand drawn, frame by frame, and a lot of times rotoscoped. And if you don't know what a rotoscope is, it's actually basically a film screen or a TV screen, and you could actually watch film on it and then put tracing paper over it and then trace over actual people. So if you watch Cinderella and stuff like that back in the day, that was before I was born, just in case you wanted to know that. It was way before I was born. That was rotoscoped actual humans moving around and dancing. So it kind of got an eerie quality to it because it's very human. Which is, it's kind of difficult to get out of that uncanny valley. So once you get to a point with certain animation where it starts to look more real and real, it gets to look so real that our human brain still knows it's fake. So what happens is we get like a weird reaction. We get like a grossed out reaction if you were to see some like. So there's something in our brain, in our human history as organisms and our instincts that make us want to cringe when something looks too real. But once you get past that point and it looks 100% real, we're fine again. But we do like things that are cutesy and weird looking and totally not real, like all the characters in the movie Up, for instance. They're all kind of squashy and square and chubby and cute. But once they start to look more and more human, like in the first Toy Story, do you remember the kid Andy in the first Toy Story, how weird he looked? Because he was like, kind of had some real qualities, but also didn't. Bizarre. Yes, the YouTube stream on Instagram looks different than my YouTube stream. Wait, my Instagram stream looks different than my YouTube screen because I'm using two different cameras. I have a different camera with a different lens. It's a HD camera. I'm just using my phone's camera on Instagram. So I don't know. Or I have a twin. I have a twin that does everything I do exactly at the same time that I do somewhere else and has just as many Oreos, and we're just splitting the Oreos. I wish I had a twin to help me with those Oreos, though, for real. Good golly, guys. Anime. Akira is a movie from the 80s, and that was an anime movie that we all watched, Ghost in the Machine. These were movies that were exciting. They remade The Ghost in the Machine with Scarlett Johansson recently. And it's kind of a bizarre movie because I always say this. If you have the chance to cast an Asian person as an Asian person, you probably should do that because it's important to the story. However, the movie did kind of make it sort of sense as to why Scarlett Johansson isn't Japanese. But it didn't really, I don't understand how Hollywood works that way because there was a movie in the 80s called Short Circuit. And it was a cute, endearing movie with Ali Sheedy and a robot and none other than Steve Guttenberg, Long Islander. But it also starred Fisher Stevens. Fisher Stevens is not Indian. However, he played an Indian roboticist. So they painted him brown and he put on an Indian accent. And I was just thinking to myself the other day, aren't there 1 billion Indians? There are 1 billion Indian nationals. None of them were available. Probably they were available. So that's a dark time, so to speak, in English, in movie history. Fisher Stevens playing an Indian roboticist 2 times. He was in both movies. So it's kind of stuff like that where you're like, are we laughing at him? Or are we just laughing at these traits that we find funny, like speaking in an accent and being foreign? So it's kind of a wince, cringy moment. You don't want to do that. But I digress. Did you guys watch WALL-E? WALL-E looks a little like Johnny Five, actually. WALL-E's a great movie. Took a lot of different... Pixar movies, I think, are the best movies right now for animation, because what they do is they actually put a lot of effort into the story. And they develop a new technique that looks cool for each movie, pretty much, or at least a style that looks cool. And then they lean into a good story that makes you feel or think something. These are the 2 things that make us human, people. That, and I don't know, the ability to create Oreos in a lab. The 2 things are being able to think and being able to feel. They're distinct, yet we can actually use one with the other. Spirited Away. Tatiana brings up that. Ask about Akira. Ghost in the Machine standalone complex series is good. Creepy. Yeah, Ghost in the Machine stuff was pretty cool. It scared me as a kid. Ghost in the Machine was... we're on a little bit of a delay over here on YouTube, so we're going back and forth here. Will says WALL-E was like the Benji the Hunted for robots. Now, if you guys remember, there was dog movies. There used to be lots of dog movies. Lassie, Benji. There was another one with like a German Shepherd. Cujo, I think it was called. It was not called Cujo. Rin Tin Tin. That's who it was. And... we just grew up watching dogs, people film dogs. I actually work near a lot of the locations of TV shows that I grew up watching, and I've worked on several movies and TV shows on similar lots. It's like controlled explosions outside my door right now. And yeah, guys, it's pretty funny seeing like different parts of Griffith Park or different parts of Simi Valley going, oh, this was Little House on the Prairie. All Dogs Go to Heaven. That's a good one. That's Disney, I believe. Disney, Jimmy James brings up All Dogs Go to Heaven. Not all dogs. Some dogs are like... I used to have a dog. I'm pretty sure he's in hell. I loved him. His name was Pappy. He was a Papillon. I loved him. He was a very adorable dog. However, he was kind of a dick. But I loved him. But he was kind of a jerk. But I loved him. Definitely in hell. All dogs go to heaven except for Pappy. I love that guy. I love that little guy. I made lots of videos with him. Yeah. Is it not Disney? It might not be Disney. All Dogs Go to Heaven. Man, I love that little dog. Except he was such a jerk. Let's see. Don Bluth. You're right. Jimmy James. You know why Don Bluth was doing American Tail and All Dogs Go to Heaven? A little bit darker. A little bit darker than usual. These are lots of beeping going on. Don't worry, I'm just getting reprogrammed. Yeah, Don Bluth was in the 80s. He had like the kind of dark spin on everything. He was like, listen, Disney, you kind of make everything spoon-fed. You got like kid gloves on with your movies. I'm going to bring in the dark themes. And he did. Yeah, the brave little toaster. You guys remember that one? Oh yeah, the Velveteen Rabbit. Will's bring it up. That's a good one. Velveteen Rabbit. That was a creepy one. I kind of remember always reading that one, reading the book. You know, it's a very deep, deep novel. But yeah, I had like a little stuffed animal missing an eye, and I thought maybe one day it will come to life. I was stupid. I was a kid. Kids don't know anything. Ooh, Dragon Ball Z. My nephew loves that Dragon Ball Z stuff, man. He grew up on that Dragon Ball Z with the Super Saiyan and all that stuff, and Yoku and Goku and yogurt. You know what I grew up on though? I watched Robotech. You guys remember Robotech? Anybody watch animated Robotech? They made movies for that. TV movies. If you get the chance, take a look at some of the Robotech stuff because it was dark. It was a TV series where they killed people. An animated TV series. I thought that was pretty cool. There was a dude named Rick Hunter in that series. He was basically like the Tom Cruise Top Gun type of character archetype, and he dies in the show. So I'm a kid, and I'm like, oh, here's the hero. Oh no, he's dead. So I handled it well, as kids do. Bambi. I don't know if Bambi has its moment. Its moment. I think it's interesting to think, yeah, Bambi is pretty dark when the hunter kills Bambi's mom. Spoiler alert. But, you know, that's hunting for you. You don't want to kill Bambi. What if they shot Bambi in that? You ever watch Bambi versus Godzilla? I took an animation class, and there were certain outliers, different independent animators that started to pop up during the 80s and 90s. People making their own animations, spending their time. I was fortunate enough to meet Bill Plimpton. Was it Bill Plimpton? Plimptunes? I don't know if it's Bill Plimpton, but Plimptunes. If you guys remember, there was a show on MTV called Liquid Television, and he would do George Plimpton. George Plimpton is he's dead. And don't get George Plimpton confused with George Clinton and the P-Funk. George Plimpton was the therapist in Good Will Hunting, who, quote, putts from the rough. Let's see. Yeah, the Plimptunes were pretty fantastic on Liquid Television, MTV's Liquid Television. And I actually got to see Monsters vs. Aliens at Sundance one year and meet Plimpton. And he gave me a little viewfinder that was a frame of the movie. So you look through the viewfinder and it's like one little frame of the movie. His stuff is dark. Plimptunes. Bill Plimpton. Plympton. He's got some really great animations. It's all very colored penciled. I don't know if he's related to Martha Plimpton, but every time I think of Martha Plimpton, I think about her taking her eyeball out in that movie that she was in. And also Goonies. I'd see another Goonies. I'd see an animated Goonies with all the original cast returning, doing the voices. Cyborgana, thanks for joining us. We're talking about animation. We're talking about Bill Plimpton and his Plimptunes, which are pretty dark. He had these two guys that would just like punch each other in the face and shoot each other. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very entertaining. I've not seen Bongani wants to know if I've seen Attack on Titan. I've not, but Titan AE, that's an animated movie. I haven't seen that one either. It's kind of a flop, I think, Titan AE. Because that's a weird title. How do you sell that on a kid? Why do we think that animation is automatically for children? And why did we think children gravitate toward animation? Yeah, Liquid Television had Aeon Flux, which was pretty cool. That was a great animated series. I think they failed making that live action. Even though Charlize Theron is great, they didn't respect the fact that it's just so unique to the style of animation. What was his name? Lee? Creator of Aeon Flux. Aeon Flux. That was such a that was very dark, very violent. Aeon Flux, on Flux. And AE makes the ah sound. So yeah, Aeon Flux should have just stuck with the anime. I do think there was an animated feature for Aeon Flux, but the series, it took the guy so long to animate every part of that, and it was installed in like a serial fashion. Every episode of Liquid Television would have the latest Aeon Flux, and I would just literally watch Liquid Television for Aeon Flux. And it was all about like procured animated animations. And guess what? Beavis and Butthead came from Liquid Television, guys. Here's some science for you. Beavis and Butthead was just a little sketch by Mike Judge on Liquid Television, and they would cut. And because animation takes so much time to do, each one of these little sketches were about 3 to 5 minutes. And it was interesting. My mom was just watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit yesterday, Tatiana. Interesting they bring that up. I'm kept up to date with my mom's viewing habits daily because she'll text me, "I'm watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit." And I'm like, great. Shave and a haircut. Titan AE was pretty much Guardians of the Galaxy, Will says. Yes, the fake tooth. Yeah, Aeon Flux had the fake tooth, right? She would like... Yeah, and she died in every short. That's right. Way to bring it back, Jimmy James. She would get killed at the end of each one of the sketches. I guess she respawned every episode. Because I remember the story continuing to progress, but I guess she would just die at the end of it. But violently. Very violently. I always thought it was pretty impractical that she had such a like skimpy suit on. It didn't make sense. But, Peter Chung. That's who created it. Yeah, that guy is a genius. His visual style is impeccable. It's dark. She catches a fly with her eyelashes. Have you ever tried that? It's hard. It's not easy. I've been trying since birth. You're conflicted between IG Live and YouTube. You know what? Hey, best of both worlds. You can have one or both. Don't have none. That's not an option. Don't be conflicted. If you're good on, either one, just pop on. This is the beauty of multiple platforms, guys. Yugra, particularly for this last 6 months to a year, was I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that a crazy thought? Don't go to work. What have we learned from Office Space, which was based on an animation called Milton? Milton's character in Office Space was a Mike Judge animation, also on Liquid Television, I believe, where he said he's going to get his red stapler. I'm going to get my stapler. Look up on YouTube after this. Write this down now. Milton animated shorts. Very funny. All voiced by Mike Judge. And the Milton character in Office Space based on that animated character. And guess what? That actor, he's my favorite actor. He's my favorite actor of all time. What's his name? Office Space. I never get a piece of cake every year. Every year, I can never get the cake. Stephen Root, he's so good. That actor is so good at everything he does. Whenever he shows up, I get excited because I'm like, he's gonna do a fun thing. He's gonna be interesting. He was the dude in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He's always got a good spin on something. That's what Tom Hanks said. Tom Hanks, we should all listen to America's Dad. He said at the Golden Globes this year, the best thing he ever learned on a set, thank you, Will, was show up on time, two things, with a head full of ideas. And it's true. Show up with more than you need and show up on time because work will get done. Work will be done. And good work will be done. Here's the two things I learned also. Work hard and be kind. Work hard, be kind, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't have to. It's amazing. It's amazing. Ooh, Adventure Time. Bongani brings up Adventure Time. Dark animated series. He was in Dodgeball. Stephen Root was also in Dodgeball. Stephen Root is in so many things. He's one of those guys where you're like, it's that guy again. And he's totally different than he was the last time I saw him. Yet I somehow his acting is always good. Somehow his acting is always good. Adventure Time. That's pretty dark. Then there's like the crude animation stuff. Like, you had, I think it's on Boom Network. I don't know. You've got BoJack Horseman, which is just kind of more funny than the animation style permits. It's not very much based on the style of animation as it is the characters and the dialogue. However, there are some movies that are really based on the animation and not the characters and the dialogue, like Final Fantasy, The Dark Horizon or whatever it was called. There was a movie in the 90s called Final Fantasy that they made after a video game. And it was like they spent so much money on the animation, but the animation was just so good. But the character development and dialogue was terrible. So they need to invest more in the story department sometimes. Do you guys remember that Final Fantasy movie? I remember there was an animated character in that looked just like Ben Affleck, and I was like, they could have just hired Ben Affleck for maybe a lot cheaper. I think Alec Baldwin voiced that guy. The Spirits Within. Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. Alan Tudyk is a very good voice actor. He's in a lot of stuff. He voices K2SO in Rogue One. I'm going to have two conversations here and on YouTube. Yeah, it's pretty much two conversations because on YouTube it's about a minute late. So what happens is we're kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit, but it's fine. Sci-fi and drama. Will brings up a movie called Your Name. What is Your Name? Now I'm asking. Some of the best animated features, I thought, we were talking about The Last Unicorn earlier, 1982 movie. Pretty dark, pretty scary. I remember when I was very young, this was 1902. They'd wheel in a projector into the classroom, a projector, and the teacher had to loop the film through the projector. This is how young I am. Actually, I went to school in Russia. I don't know if Russia is underdeveloped or whatever, but at the time, that doesn't make any sense. They would load up the film strip into the film projector, and one time we watched The Black Cauldron because they had a print of The Black Cauldron. Now, Disney didn't like that movie. They kind of forgot about the movie and they didn't want anybody to know about the movie because it was one of their darker films. It was actually rated PG. And Disney was known for everything being rated G. And so they buried the Black Cauldron, and I thought the Black Cauldron, I remember looking for it, and I'm like, I thought this was an actual movie, like The Last Unicorn. However, it was not used until 1998. Disney was like, oh yeah, fine, you can watch that. So I don't know, does anybody know if that's on Disney Plus? Can we get the Black Cauldron? Can we get a Black Cauldron? I feel like my freaking coffee was a boiling black cauldron this morning. I can't tell you how frustrated I am with my coffee situation. Some days it bubbles up within 10 minutes. Today it took like 22 minutes. And it tastes funny. Frickin' percolator's not percolating. Yeah. In Soviet Union, film watches you. Oh yeah, Yakov Smirnoff. Will brings up Yakov Smirnoff, the Russian comedian who utilizes the charm of being a foreigner in America and pointing out all the differences in what it's like to be in Soviet Union. In Soviet Union, film watches you. And he has a funny laugh because it was the 80s and you had to have a hook like this. Like you had to be Judy Tenuta with a accordion. You had to be Bobcat Goldthwait with screaming and lighting yourself on fire. You had to be Sam Kinison with screaming and playing guitar. These were the comedians of the day. Today, you just have to say funny things. But back in the day, Yakov Smirnoff, I was actually watching Yakov Smirnoff recently. And it doesn't work because he's like, in the 80s, I used to say when I grew up in Russia... His whole act. Because now he's made probably a mountain of cash being the foreign guy who's naive about American customs. However, he is rich now and older, and he's like, in the 80s, I used to have accent like this, but now I just talk like this because I've been living here for 40 years. Was he even Russian? In Soviet Union, he's probably like Ukraine. Something. Soviet Union. Where is Yakov Smirnoff from? Ukrainian, yeah. So he was in Soviet Union. He's only 69 years old, but he's keeping it together. He's keeping it together, this guy. He's got some great veneers. You know, these are real. But I might have to grind them down to get veneers one day. That scares me. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get rotten teeth from Oreos. I eat too many Oreos. Lose all my teeth in like 2 weeks. Will points out that Yakov Smirnoff was the Russian Jeff Foxworthy. You might be a Soviet Union if you know you are from Soviet Russia. When toilet paper, you stand on line for toilet paper. Yeah. I'm no Yakov Smirnoff, guys. Sorry. I'm trying. I'm really trying to be the next Yakov Smirnoff. You know that there are so many Ukrainians in the 80s going, Yakov Smirnoff did it. So can I. I will be the next Ukrainian guy talking. I think it's pretty funny. I was watching the Dave Chappelle induction the Dave Chappelle being awarded the Mark Twain Prize. And they were talking about the 90s and how he pitched a show to HBO, and HBO said, why would we have you on a show when we already have Chris Rock? And then the guy said, yeah, because it was the 90s, and you could only have one prominent black comedian in the public eye, and now you can have 3. It's very true. People's headspace and bandwidth cannot handle a Chris Rock and a Chris Tucker both existing in the 90s. Let me tell you a little story. I remember watching a preview for a movie for Rush Hour. Before Rush Hour came out, I was sitting in the theater, and then it's just Chris Tucker in all over the place, which is Chris Tucker. And then someone behind me was laughing so hard after the trailer was over, and she was like, "I love Chris Rock." And I was like, really? They're totally different human beings with different comedy stylings entirely. But it just shows you that, if you told me that there was another Yakov Smirnoff, I might just think, I don't have enough room in my brain. I can only have one Yakov Smirnoff. There's only one Ukrainian comedian that we can all think about. There's only one Chris comedian that we can all keep in our head. I don't even think he was Russian. Yeah, he was definitely not Russian. He was Soviet. He was Soviet Union. Anastasia I gotta say, the one thing about the Disney movies that are really smart, because you got stories like Anastasia, there's a thing called copyright law. Let's redirect into copyright law, guys. It's so brilliant that the Disney people just take stories that are public domain, because you can just take any movie any story that is folklore or the Brothers Grimm or anybody who has been dead for at least 75 years, any author of any work who has been dead for 75 years, you can use that work as public domain. So I guess Herman Melville has been dead, so anybody can make Moby Dick into a movie, apparently. It's a public domain story. So you just kind of... And then there's like a weirdness where you can buy the rights to stuff and whatever. And that's why there's a Jungle Book every 2 years. Because who did Jungle Book? Roald Dahl? Kevin Johnson? The Jungle Book was sorry. It's a book. It's a 1967 film. It's based on The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. That's what I meant to say. Rudyard Kipling. The Jungle Book, I don't know. Is that public domain? How long has Rudyard Kipling been dead? He died in 1936. That was 75 years ago. Over 75 years ago. So we could take the Jungle Book. I think it also has to do with like the reproductions of each thing. But you could just take any story and then make it your own. The problem is you got to make it good. You have to have the budget. So they don't want to spend money paying somebody for a proven story. A story that people already like for hundreds of years. Why would you pay anybody for that when you can just use it? Yeah. Isle of Dogs was nice too. Isle of Dogs, that was the movie. This is the latest Wes Anderson movie, I believe. I didn't see it yet. And I've seen every Wes Anderson movie. And I think I've seen every Wes Anderson movie except for the Darjeeling Limited in the theater. In theater, as they say. You know what I love about Steve Zissou and The Life Aquatic? A Wes Anderson movie starring Bill Murray. That Willem Dafoe, here's a little thing next time you're watching that movie. Willem Dafoe does a little double take every time he leaves a room in that movie. Every time. It's like a character trait. So every time he walks out of a room, he sticks his head back in the... Even there's a scene where he slams a door and then he sticks his head in the window. It's really funny. He walks away on the dock and then looks back. I thought that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen an actor / writer / director insist on, I guess. Because it's so important that no matter what happens, he always goes away in a huff and then sticks his head back into the screen. Very funny. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. Fun choices actors make. choices. People like to say, don't make any choices as an actor. I don't know. You could choose to do whatever. Live in the moment. They're not choices. You're just living. There's a lot of mumbo jumbo. Whatever works and whatever's compelling. The whole point about acting is, this is my philosophy. I'm going to start my own acting class in my own acting school. But this is what I think about acting. It's not about you. It's not about your character necessarily. It's about the story, and it's about the movie. And the best way to convey the story, and that's it. That's what it's about. Don't be thinking about what you're doing or who you're talking to. Just think about how it's impacting the story. How are you communicating the story to the audience? And a lot of times actors are just like up their own actor ass, and they're just kind of like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And you just don't do anything. Just make sure the story is being communicated effectively. And that way you will probably get out of your own head and out of your own way as an actor. Take it from me, professional Z-list actor. Sherlock Holmes, Great Mouse Detective, Robin Hood. These are all great ones. Robin Hood with the Fox, that was pretty good. Very Errol Flynn type of Robin Hood. There's so much in the world of animation. I took an animation class in college. It was pretty cool. I actually met one of the animators of Betty Boop and the inventor of Betty Boop's little pug. I think his name is Pug. And he drew one in my little animation textbook. It was pretty cool. He was 90-something, and his wife was 90-something. And he drove and talked to my class, and his wife was actually one of the voices of Betty Boop. And she did the voice for us, and she was like 900 years old, and it was cool. And I remember this from college. College taught me a lot. I used my college degree to light cigarettes with. I got a degree in motion pictures. So Will just wrote a bunch of words that I can't understand. Bleach, FMA, Inusa, Bebop, Shampoo. I'm gonna have to, Google's got it. I'm gonna have to try to. Betty Boop is pretty phenomenal. I have a friend who looks just like Betty Boop. I call them Betty Boop. I say, hey Betty Boop. And they don't even know who the heck Betty Boop was. Betty Boop was an important character in history. Interesting character. Very famous about 100 years ago, probably. Maybe like 90 years ago, Betty Boop. Steamboat Willie time. Steamboat Willie, if you remember, was the first animated depiction of Mickey Mouse. A little mouse driving a steamboat down a river, and people were just wowed by this. Animation is a very funny history. They used to have a thing called a Nickelodeon. Now, Nickelodeon is a TV network with cartoons and stuff for kids right now. But a Nickelodeon 100 years ago or so used to take nickels, which is a lot of money when you don't have two nickels to rub together, and you've taken a wooden nickel from a stranger. Nickel is a lot of money. So you pop a nickel in this machine, and you'd put your eyes in it, and it would just have this little carousel inside that would spin around, and it would do a persistence of vision trick, which was like the first animation that people used to pay a nickel for and enjoy. That's when I was a kid and movies only cost a nickel. They were only 10 seconds long, but they were so much more entertaining. I've only got a minute and a half left on Instagram, but if you guys on Instagram want to hop over to YouTube, I'm going to hang out for another maybe 5 to 10 minutes and continue to talk about animation. And if you guys just go to AristotleFullThrottle.com, you'll find us. You'll find us there. AristotleFullThrottle.com. Remember to like this video. If you like it, it helps the algorithm. And who does not like to have rhythm? I got rhythm, algorithm. Go over there, like the video, share the video, tell your friend, tell your moms, tell your pops, tell your cousin's boyfriend to go watch this over there. Thank you guys for watching on Instagram. I'm going to do this every day. Not every day of my life, every day of the week. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. The standard work week, noon, Pacific Standard Time. This is what we do. We chat, we get into it, we share our quarantine stories. I try to make coffee, but perhaps today's temperature and pressure is not standard. So it took an extra long time, and I am not going to watch it next time. I'm going to make sure that I have my back turned to it. But come over to YouTube. Let's have a chat. Let's finish it up. Let's wrap it up. But if you're on Instagram and you insist on only using Instagram as your platform for streaming, I'll see you tomorrow at noon. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Aristotle, Full Throttle, your bro in the know with the fro. And I've got 3, 2, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys. All right, they're gone. It's just me and you. I mean, between me and you, that Instagram audience, I don't know what to tell you. They might as well be on TikTok. Are you guys doing TikTok? There used to be some fun animated social networking apps that they don't have anymore. I forget which ones they were, but if you remember ones, let me know. Cancel, share story. So we're sharing that. Yeah, if you remember any animated social networking apps, I'd like to know. I remember there was one I would just make an animation every day, just with paper towels or napkins or something. I'd crumple them up and then I'd make them dance around the table doing stop motion. Stop motion is a really important movement in animation. You had the guys that did Jurassic Park. The guy who did Jurassic Park was a consultant, was the main stop motion animator for, say, like the King Kong movies and the dinosaurs fighting ancient things back in the day. They needed him in order to understand how to translate and animate the motions of dinosaurs, because he was just so well versed in anatomy and how things move through space and time. So all these new fangled computer animators needed a guy who could manipulate wireframes so that they could translate that information into smooth computer-generated dinosaurs. Here's a fun fact. There's a band called Tool, and the guitar player for Tool, Adam Jones, was one of the animators on Jurassic Park. He's one of the sculptors on the movie Jurassic Park, and he's now a famous rock star. He also worked on Predator, and he also went to high school with Tom Morello. Tom Morello being the guitar player for Rage Against the Machine. They're both from Illinois, and they both went to the same high school at the same time and were in a band together in high school. This is all going to blow your mind. And then Tom Morello, fun fact, is the first guy, he's the first henchman that when Tony Stark builds the Iron Man suit in Iron Man, that gets clobbered by Iron Man. So Tony Stark puts on the suit, it powers up, and then the first henchman to walk up to him, Tom Morello, guitar player from Rage Against the Machine and Audio Slave. Pretty neat. I remember seeing that in the movies, going, why did he have to go kill Tom Morello? Tom Morello is the greatest guitar player of his generation. Why would he go murder him for? And why the hell is Tom Morello in a cave and not playing guitar? Wallace and Gromit are... Will brings up Wallace and Gromit. Very good. That's a good one. Those are a series of very stylized animations that they just came out with another one recently, I think. I remember growing up watching those and just kind of enjoying the charm of that sort of British charm. I think that's why they are so charming and good and fun. Tatiana had a Nickelodeon machine in your hometown. Did it fill up with nickels? Because I imagine that it would be very high in demand. You'd probably make like 50 cents a day with that thing. Fear Factor was adult Double Dare. I like that comparison. That's pretty true. I love Double Dare. I know that they came back with it. Didn't they? Mark Summers or something came back with it. Ultra conservative Mark Summers and ultra OCD Mark Summers, the guy who's got a like line up thing. He's an interesting character. I think it's funny that he's got extreme OCD, yet he will throw himself into gack and slime constantly. Maybe it's exposure therapy for him. I used to love Double Dare. Still love that show. I wanted to be on Double Dare. Tom Morello and Kim Thale. Wow. These guys were a part of like a giant... Kim Thale being the guitar player for Soundgarden. Wow. Very small world. I feel bad for Soundgarden. They just got back together like 8 years ago or so. 5, 6, 7 years ago. And, Chris Cornell had some weird medical medication side effects. Yeah. Be careful, guys. Never know. Read the ingredients on the bottle. Apparently, Chris Cornell was taking medication. Chris Cornell, being like the greatest rock singer of his generation, listened to his version of Nothing Compares with his daughter. His daughter and he do it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's from about a year or two ago. And it's on Spotify. It's a recording. I think they take Chris Cornell from a live recording and then his daughter sings along with it. Kind of like Natalie Cole and Nat King Cole. Natalie Cole sings with her father's dead friends and all that. It's pretty good. It's a really good song in general, written by Prince. But the performance is very powerful. Very powerful performance. Oh, she does Hunger Strike with him. I got to check that out. Hunger Strike's also a good song. Interestingly written song. Bizarre format, however, well executed. Good song. It was a hit. Hit in the 90s. Yeah, Toni Cornell she's got a really good voice, and it's because her family has just really good singing genes. Apparently, she knows the music, she knows the song, she's connected. It's interesting to see that sometimes when you could see the kid of maybe we'll talk about that, like families that are talented, because sometimes it just skips a generation. Sometimes you got a kid who's just not talented, like Tom Hanks's kids. Like, so Colin Hanks, fine, good actor, but his other son, like, I don't know, Trippy G Hanks, the rapper kid that Tom Hanks has, doesn't seem to have any kind of talent or charisma, which is unfortunate. But sometimes it skips a generation. When you have Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks as your parents, you have no excuse to not have any talent. Very funny. I did hear the Cranberries cover of Zombie. The Bad Wolves cover of the Cranberry Zombie. I did hear that. I got the order right. Yeah. So Walt Disney, I'd have to say my one gripe about Walt Disney films is that back in the day, they used a system called Imagineering. They still do it. And they made all the artists that they would hire draw the same thing. And the thing that was always different, I brought this up before on the show, about Warner Brothers, Tex Avery, Chuck Jones, and all them, they had their own style. So they brought their own style to each cartoon. So if you remember, all the different Bugs Bunnies, they're different Bugs Bunnies because they were different artists making those. If you remember Woody Woodpecker, sometimes Chuck Jones would direct an episode of Woody Woodpecker, and Woody Woodpecker would look similar to one of the types of Bugs Bunnies there was, because it was the same guy's style. It was his visual style that he would animate. So whenever they hired a director for the Looney Tunes, they would apply their style to the character. And I still think that's pretty interesting. Whereas Disney was like, no, everybody has to scientifically study how eyes are supposed to look and what is considered cute and all of that. Dweezil Zappa. Yeah, he's become an incredibly phenomenal guitar player. Yeah, he's actually he's not his dad. However, he is friggin' good. Frank Zappa, it was. See, I play guitar, and I look at Frank Zappa, and I listen to Frank Zappa, and I just go, the dude was just literally tuning in another dimension through his channeling his brain. I don't know what happened. He had an antenna to a different universe that went directly to his hands to the guitar. So I don't know how he was doing it, what he was hearing, what he was thinking or feeling. There's just you just have to experience Frank Zappa's guitar playing because it's you just have to shut up and play the guitar when you're around Frank Zappa. It's pretty good. By the way, that's an album. Shut Up and Play Your Guitar. You should listen to that. And Return of the Son of Shut Up and Play the Guitar. Good stuff. You don't even understand what's happening, but you don't have to. You just feel it. Pretty good. I'm a fan of Frank Zappa. Thank you for bringing him up. Frank Zappa was a talented individual. I read his book, The Real Frank Zappa. Here's a fun fact about Frank Zappa. He was a drummer, and he only decided to play guitar because his guitar player quit. And he's like, oh, I guess I'll have to become one of the greatest guitar players who ever lived. Damn it. I was playing drums. I don't understand this. I don't understand how that happens, but sometimes it happens that way. He would have been totally content playing the drums. Maybe. He used to orchestrate and write entire symphonies for his high school orchestra when he was 14. He'd write it out, and then the high school would play his compositions. So he had a lot of interesting growing up. Yeah, Dweezil's pretty good. Ahmet is a funny guy. They tried the band situation for many years, the Z's band, but I don't know how well that went for them. Tori's daughter's name. Moon Unit? Diva? Moon Unit. Dweezil's name is actually, I'll leave you with this. Dweezil Zappa's full birth name. It's like Euclid David something, yeah. Dweezil was born Ian Donald Calvin Euclid Zappa. And, but they had always called him Dweezil because Frank Zappa, this is true, Frank Zappa's wife's pinky toe he used to call Dweezil, and then when Dweezil was born, he said, he looks like your pinky toe. We'll call him Dweezil. And then when they were in the hospital, I know this story, they were signing the birth certificate, and the nurse said, you need to put a name on it. And they were like, okay, Dweezil. And she said, no, I will not let you put the name Dweezil on your kid's birth certificate. And he's like, but that's my kid's name. It's Dweezil. And they were like, no, it is not your kid's name. So he just thought of all of the names of the people in his band. I'm pretty sure that's true. Let me see. I'm going to validate you. Maybe you can check the facts of this, but he just thought of like 5 or 4 names of the dudes in his band and then just wrote them down. And then that's how Dweezil Zappa was born. And then he officially changed it at some point, but yeah, Ian Donald Calvin Euclid Zappa, and he had to remember how to spell and that name by the time he was 3. So, yeah, Dweezil. Cool name, though. Dweezil. It's just fun to say. You know what else is fun to say, guys? It's fun to say I love you. Thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. If you want to help out, I have a Patreon. You can pledge $1, $2, $10 a month to that. That would help me pay the internet bill. And it would help me can maintain contact and talking to you every day because I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys and sharing in the splendor of that which is entertainment, movies, and music. It's what we do. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Aristotle Full Throttle, your bro in the know with the fro. And I'll see you later.